Hey guys, today we're in the workshop to talk about the Shockwiz. If you found this video, I assume you know what a Shockwiz is. For those of you who just stumbled across this, it's basically a device that helps you set up your mountain bike suspension. The first thing you need to do is you need to set up your Shockwiz. For that, I definitely suggest you just go take a look at Quarq's YouTube videos. They go through everything you need to do from installing it onto your bike, setting it up, going through the calibration wizard, and downloading the app. These are definitely things you're all going to want to do before you even think about taking this to the trails. Before you go out and take your bike on the trails, what I recommend you do is go out and find the manufacturer settings for your shock and your fork. You're going to want to make sure that you set up your air pressure and your rebound based on their specifications. Now, once you've done that, keep these docs handy for later on because you're going to want to make some adjustments based on those down the road. Once you're done running through the configuration wizard and you've got everything set up, you're going to want to make sure that your shock travel in the app is either at 0% or between 3 plus or minus %. If not, you're going to need to recalibrate the Shockwiz. Now that you've got your Shockwiz set up, you need to go out and ride your bike. When you go ride, you want to go find some trails that have climbing, have some rocks, and some other technical features. Shockwiz pretty much hates flow trails, so to avoid flow trails at all costs. Once you've gone out and ridden your trail and ridden enough, you can open the Shockwiz and it'll tell you that it's 100% confident, and then you can start looking at the suggestions. If not, Shockwiz will tell you what you need to ride next, whether it's rock gardens or climbing or something else. So inside the Shockwiz app, you're going to see that there is a default shock tuning score, and you'll also see a little section for suggestions, for detections, statistics, and profiles. The suggestions section was basically just going to provide feedback on the air pressure, your air spring ramp, your rebound, and compression. And when you look at these, you need to apply these from top to bottom. So you're going to always apply your air pressure before you try and do anything with the air spring ramp. And you're going to want to do all those before you mess with rebound and lastly compression. On the detection sections, this is really going to provide some feedback on whether it detects if there's pogoing effect happening, whether you're packing your suspension, you're bottoming out, whether it's bobbing or just bouncing. And really these are going to be fixed by the changes that you make from the suggestions section. Next area is the statistics. This tab is going to show jumps, air time, how many deep pressure events you had, and your dynamic set. These reset each time you start a new session. And I found that at least the jump, in my opinion, the jump stats were not very accurate. The thing I looked here was for the dynamic sag stat, and when I was looking at those, I wanted to make sure that when my fork, I wanted to keep my fork around 20%, and my shock, I want to keep that around 35%. Lastly, there's a section called Profiles. The Profiles allows you to save the current setting as a profile for my shock or for my fork, and I can just, when I want to change between my shock and fork on the bike, I just reload those other profiles and I don't have to go through the whole configuration section again. So when it comes to adjustments, for me, it was really about adjusting the air pressure and adjusting the rebound. My bike, I did not need to adjust tokens. Based on the riding you do, you might have to adjust tokens, but it never came up as a setting for me to actually say, oh, add tokens or remove tokens. But once you have your air pressure and your air spring ramp solid, it's time to reset your rebound. So go back, find your manufacturer's settings, go look at what your current air pressure is now, and then adjust what your rebound should be based on that air pressure. So per my settings, like for my manufacturer setting, I should be running my fork around 105 PSI and my shock about 235 PSI. But after running the Shockwiz, I dropped my fork's PSI down to 85 and my shock's PSI down to 225. Based on those two air pressure suggestions, that's when I reset my rebound. And I was pretty surprised to find that that was based on the manufacturer's settings and then running again and testing out more, those were the dialed settings for the air pressure. So once I got the air pressure down, I could definitely just go back, look at how many clicks you're supposed to be in that. I was set. My fork, I'm running 7 clicks from closed. For my shock, I'm running 5 clicks from closed. And like I said before, both of these were the manufacturer's recommended setting based on the PSI. In conclusion, I kind of look back and say, okay, well, is it worth buying the Shockwiz? I definitely will say that I felt a difference in how the bike rode when I set these settings based on what the Shockwiz provided. I found the bike was a lot more settled. I really could ride it hard into corners and not worry about it losing it or getting too bouncy. Going off jumps was great. So in conclusion, I would definitely say that I found the Shockwiz to be worthwhile. I think that if you are someone who can really dial in, your suspension and you just know your bike and you know how to do these things, you'll probably be okay. But if you're a Luddite like myself and just all this stuff just looked like freaking magic to make it work, this tool really helped. Granted, when I think about it, all I really needed to know was find my ideal air pressure and then go look at the Rebound and adjust the Rebound based on manufacturer settings. But I will say that I would not probably have gone to the air pressures that I went to based on just guessing. I ran my forks and shock probably too stiff and had my settings too fast. So the takeaway really is drop some air from your fork and shock and slow down your Rebound. Try and find your manufacturer's settings set to that. You probably will have as good of experience. So the price of the Shockwiz is tough to justify it unless you're pretty much a hardcore rider. But I definitely think that it's something worth trying to rent if you can find one place that'll rent it. But I definitely recommend the product if you really want to make your bike work as top notch and you're not 100% sure if your settings are correct, or you don't feel comfortable making those settings, making those adjustments yourself. I'd give it a shot. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope you got some knowledge out of it. If you have any questions, leave them below. I'm definitely going to just keep my Shockwiz plugged onto my bike and maybe adjust it, moving back and forth. But see how it goes from there. Talk to you later, guys. Thanks. Bye.